First of all, I want to say thank you to all the residents who made presentations today and the many residents who wrote letters to the committee. I will talk about the motion, but first I wanted to set it up by talking to the committee about growth in Stittsville. Currently, we have a population of 43,000 people in 15,000 households. And over the past few years, we've grown at a rate 30% faster than the city at large. By 2034, we expect to have 67,000 people living in Stittsville. Between 2014 and 2019, the city collected $129 million in development charges from new builds in Stittsville. And in 2019 alone, it was $42 million. That's a full $10 million more than the next highest ward, which is Carol Ann Meehan's ward in Gloucester South Nepean. So we have certainly been paying our fair share towards development charges. Right now, we have 25 active development applications in Stittsville. To put that in perspective, that means there are more homes and apartments in the approval stage right now than there were total homes in Stittsville just 15 years ago. The pace of this growth can be overwhelming for residents, and it's also very frustrating when these new homes arrive ahead of the transportation infrastructure. Now, many of these new applications are for homes along the future Robert Grant Avenue corridor. In fact, most of them are. Robert Grant Avenue will be the major north-south transportation arterial from Fernbank to the Queensway. So far, only a little stub of the road is built. So this green part down here at the bottom is what's built. The rest is what is still to be built. And the Nepean site's the little orange square right there. So how does traffic get to the Queensway now? There's a few ways, but most people in this neighborhood head up Iber Road, an industrial road with 2 lanes, no sidewalks, and then through Huntmar, which is through another neighborhood, a collector street, never designed to handle the amount of traffic it's taking. And transit for the Fernbank area, it takes 2 transfers just to get to Tunney's. So the transit area, the transit service in this area is also pretty poor. So the site that Nepean owns, they're allowed to build 9 stories as of right, including across the street from a row of 2-story townhomes. That's all in the 2009 Fernbank Community Design Plan. And as you've heard, they're also allowed to go higher because under Schedule D of the official plan, it's within 400 meters from a future transit station. So they're totally justified in asking for this height based on the policy. But the problem is, despite the thousands of homes already being built and built already, despite the tens of millions of dollars collected in development charges, Robert Grant is nowhere near to being finished, and that promised transit station is at least 2031 or beyond. So, no wonder residents are frustrated with this process. I can totally understand that. How can we tell residents this applicant is allowed more height based on proximity to transit when the transit's still years away and the arterial road isn't even built yet? So it's this problem we have with the planning where it's a huge gap between when homes are built and when the roads and transit are there to serve residents. So the motion I introduced helps close this gap for this Nepean project in particular. They have come to the table with a lot of improvements already based on concerns from the community. The motion I've introduced goes a big step further. It would delay the construction of the 18-story tower until Robert Grant is open all the way to Maple Grove. This is important because it's the last phase of the road to be built. So we're saying you can't build the 18-story tower until Robert Grant is complete to the connection to the Queensway. It also gets us a lot closer to when the transit station will actually be built. And that was the whole reason to allow extra height in the first place. And it'll get us closer to when shops and services are in the area to support these residents within walking distance. And I do know that this proposal is unpopular. It still will be even with this amendment. But in the bigger picture, putting apartments and putting more density close to transit station is the kind of trade-off we're going to need if we're going to stop pushing further and further out into farm fields and forests and taking action on climate change. What we have to do as a council and city staff now is step up and make sure we speed up the timeline to connect transit, to build the roads and transportation infrastructure that we so badly need here in Stittsville. So thank you, Chair.